You're listening to This Naked Mind with Annie Grace.
Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to This Naked Mind podcast. And I'm here with Kathryn. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you, Annie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so glad to have you. So why don't you sort of take us back to the beginning in your relationship with alcohol? Where did it all start for you?
So I grew up in a village in Somerset in the southwest of England. And as a kid, I was really interested, quite fascinated, I think, with alcohol. I think it seemed like this special adult drink that I wasn't allowed. So I was quite fascinated by it. And my dad used to make some homebrew in the garage. And so I used to sneak out there and take little sips of that. And then I worked out that at Christmas, if I asked for Father Christmas's sherry that we leave out on Christmas Eve, if it could get left in my room, so then I'd be able to drink it, and my parents wouldn't be able to say anything because they'd have to break the myth of him not existing. So that was a little something I worked out as well. So I had this kind of real interest in it, and my parents let me have a few glasses of cider and things when I was young as well. So but when I got into my teens and I started drinking a bit heavier with my friends, I found that I absolutely loved it. So as a kid, I had a bit of a kind of a sadness in me. I sort of felt like an outsider quite a lot, which I didn't really understand. So sort of just kept it to myself, really. But when I was drinking, it felt like it liberated me from that. It was suddenly I found something that kind of just made me feel really good and gave me that kind of connection, I guess, with my friends. So we started drinking quite a bit heavy, about age 12, 13. So we were fairly young. But from then on, it was me. I was the instigator of any kind of drinking. I was doing it as much as possible. I was not eating at school so that I could buy a bottle of cider after school. It was any opportunity I could. So absolutely loved it. But this feeling of kind of being an outsider, not fitting in, this sadness just got stronger and stronger. By the time I was 15, I had quite severe depression. Although, again, this is back in the mid-90s and no one really spoke about stuff like this. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And so I didn't speak to anyone about it. And I just kept on using alcohol as a means to escape. But it got to the point where I got to 17 and actually started to plan my suicide. It got that bad. But obviously, I didn't go through with that. And I managed to kind of put all my energy into finishing my school and moving to London. I wanted to get out of the village I was in and just move to London, be somewhere where it was big and exciting. So I went to London initially to go to university, but then I didn't attend university really. And I found myself a bar job. So I started working in a pub, which I loved immediately, absolutely loved bar work. I was around drink all the time, around people who like to drink. It became a real kind of focus and priority. So that I loved, and I loved the kind of the buzz and the busyness of the work. It gave me a bit of an adrenaline rush, especially on those really busy nights. So yes, I kind of fell in love with bar work there. But this kind of normalization of drinking every day obviously wasn't that helpful for me. I was then drinking a lot, drinking after shifts, drinking on Friday nights when we're cleaning the lines, pulling all the beer through, we're all drinking that. Customers buying us drinks that we'll have at the end of the shift. So there's this real culture of drinking, obviously in the bars. And then, so I was getting into really bad states, passing out. So I was about 20, I guess, when I started at 20 or 21. And so I was a fairly young girl, and I sort of passed out on the streets in London, falling asleep on public transport and ending up in sometimes completely different counties, ending up waking up in places that I didn't know, other people's houses that I didn't know. And in all this time, I was raped twice. I was in countless other situations where, I was in no fit state for any consent, but I've got no idea really what the situation was. And so there was this cycle of shame, and every day I was waking up and I was hating myself so much, but I was putting the smile on, going into the bar, pushing it all down, and then drinking again at the end of the night, just ending up, in these states again, over and over again, that I was really stuck. But At the same time, I was also working my way up the ranks in the pub, and I was working my way up through a management trainee program, and ended up running a quite a large pub in central London by the time I was 25. So I was the youngest manager in the company, and I was really good at it as well. I was achieving record profits and turnover. I was also given a title of ale champion for the area, which was like, I was kind of like a beer specialist for our area, and I literally got paid to go out to beer festivals, go to tastings, to then feed back on new beers and things. So I was literally getting paid to drink there. So you know, I still loved this. I was still ending up in really bad states, and my mental health was getting worse and worse. But I was still managing to push it all down and to put on this facade, this kind of shiny exterior that's needed for hospitality work, and sort of, I guess, just pushing it away from myself. So I didn't really know a lot of the time what I was feeling. I was just drinking through it. And then eventually I met someone, one of my customers actually, a guy that I started going out with. We really hit it off. He was a big drinker, so we were always out going to gigs, going to pubs, having a good time in London. And eventually we got married. And this was at a time, I think it's just before my mental health again started to go downhill. My work was suffering. I wasn't able to kind of hide the unhappiness, the depression, I guess, anymore. It was just becoming a bit too much. And I ended up leaving my job that we were in. And my husband was a South African guy, and we decided to go and live in Cape Town in South Africa for a couple of years, as he wasn't enjoying his job particularly, and I'd left mine, so we thought we'd go and experience something, a new life. So we went out to South Africa, had a really good time. Lots of vineyards, wineries out there as well, so it's a lot more drinking. But I couldn't work out there due to a lot of different visa restrictions. So I got quite lonely, really, and again, mental health was not doing good, and I was still just drinking. But I was drinking on my own a lot more while he was out at work, waiting for him to come back. So eventually, we spent 2 years out there, but eventually came back to the UK again, and then I picked up pub management again, and quickly just got back into that cycle of that culture. So I kind of felt like I was trying to escape my situations. When my mental health was bad and my drinking was kind of out of control, I kept moving and I kept trying to break free of it. I didn't know how to get myself unstuck, but these geographical movements just didn't really make any difference. It was just following me around. And then one day, 6 years ago, I woke up. I couldn't remember the night before. I had a bad feeling I'd done something that I shouldn't have, perhaps with another guy. I didn't know. And so I just said, right, I've got to stop. I have to stop drinking. And then I did. I stopped, and I thought that was that. I guess I again kind of just got this new identity, I suppose. Right, I'm not going to drink now. I don't need to talk about it. I didn't want to even discuss with anyone why I'd stopped drinking. It was I just said, oh, I've just been drinking a little bit too much, but yeah, I don't want it anymore. And that was fine. And for initially, a few things got better. I started sleeping a bit better. I started to find some enjoyment in other things. But then I guess what was buried underneath all the alcohol just was bubbling to the surface, and I couldn't really ignore it anymore. I just knew that I was very unhappy. So I was in a fortunate enough position where we had a bit of spare money to access some therapy. So I started seeing someone having some therapy, and it was strange. It was like I was getting to know myself for the first time, because from quite a young age, everything was hidden under the drinking. So yes, there was lots of things coming up. And one thing that kept coming up was there were issues around sex all the time. And I thought that it was because of assaults and situations that I'd been in. I thought there was trauma behind them. There probably was, to be fair. But the more we dug and the more I got to know myself, it turned out that I realised that I was gay at the age of 39. So that was actually quite a surprise. And yeah, ended up then finished leaving my marriage. Well, ending my marriage, keeping very good friends with my husband, and completely starting a new life at the age of 40. And yeah, that's kind of where I am now, I guess. It's a year later now, and I'm only just starting to look at the drinking, I guess, a bit more. I thought just by stopping drinking, I'd sort of done it. But then there was something actually that I heard you say once, which was about how goals should be, now not behavior focused, but it was something else. I can't remember what it is.
Emotion.
Yes, that's it. So it's about how you should feel about something. I just thought, yeah, the abstinence, that will do it. And yeah, and it didn't, of course. So yeah, since I've sort of started looking at that and almost trying to diminish the power or the priority that alcohol has in my life, now I just actually don't want it at all anymore. It's not something that I'm interested in. I don't think it will make my life any better or make any evening any better with it. So yeah, it's been funny. I thought, so the last 6 years of being sober, it's only really been the last year, I think, that I've really started to kind of make peace with it, and actually that's probably the wrong word, but to really embrace it and to realize how good it is for my life, whereas before I was just feeling a bit sorry for myself, I think, and just trying to move on. So yeah, that's my story, really.
So what was that transition like for you to go from, basically 5 years of abstinence, but not feeling peace, still feeling very mentally engaged by alcohol? How did you move from that to where you are today?
That's a good question, actually. How did I move from that? I think it was starting to access things like these podcasts, other ones that I listen to as well, more reading around it, and then trying to find people that I could talk to about it and actually make sobriety a bigger part of my life. I just wanted to I think I felt shame about it because I felt that my drinking was tied in with a lot of other, all the other bad things that happened. And if I didn't really like to talk about it. And so I felt shame about the whole thing. Whereas I guess some of the therapy of kind of helping me come to terms with that and make peace with that, but also, yeah, really embracing sobriety and embracing, just life without it. I think that's made a massive, massive difference.
And can you identify like any of the things that you really believed when you were sober but missing alcohol versus what sort of things you believe now that you feel like it has less of a hold in your life?
Well, I guess the main thing is that I did always believe that I was missing out, I suppose, that I would never really be able to have as much fun as other people. And yeah, that was the main thing. But actually, I've had so much fun discovering other things that I'm interested in now. I go mountain biking's been my sort of latest hobby of the last year or so. I love sort of any kind of sports. And I'm quite happy to go out to other events where other people are drinking, and I'm still accessing the kind of the buzz that I'm getting from the social situation, friends that I'm chatting to. I think that's the main difference, is that I don't feel like I'm missing out. And actually, I feel like I'm gaining more because I can wake up in the morning and not waste the next day. And that's the main thing.
That's great. And you mentioned a little bit about your social life, but how is your social life been? How was it right at first when you kind of were white knuckling it and you just, kind of stopped without looking at it at all, just kind of, and then how is it now?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, I wanted to carry on and do everything as normal, but just not drink. So I was still in pubs quite a lot, and it was just reinforcing this idea, I guess, that I was missing out again and again. And then I started to realize that a lot of the people that I was hanging around with were just drinking partners and actually didn't bring anything else into my life. We weren't really friends. Yeah, it was just sort of just people I saw that used to drink with. So I've gradually let a lot of them drop away, and there's been the kind of the core friends that have stayed, but I've actually gained more friends over the last year from getting involved in loads of other activities, that, yeah, that's really, my social life is better now, but in a different way, I guess. Yeah.
Did you ever find it uncomfortable to tell people you weren't drinking?
Yeah, and I still do sometimes. It's that pause afterwards, I think, of people, if I'm meeting people in a bar or someone's asking what I'm drinking, I'll say, oh, no, I don't drink. And then I don't know whether I'm supposed to fill, there's always a gap, to fill a gap with some sort of explanation as to why. And I don't think I've quite worked that one out yet either. So, yeah. But with people that I know and I'm close to, I've got no issue, and actually I quite like talking about it now. But yeah, I'm still working on that one, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like to just say nothing, or just say, yeah. Like, I'd like to just say nothing.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit more awkward. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's great. And is there any other, missing out? Is there any other thing that, really had you stuck before, at least mentally, that really feels free to you now?
I guess it was, I thought that's how I could manage, how I needed to manage my sort of troubles with mental health, I suppose. I needed the alcohol to feel that ease. Although I don't think that it ever actually arrived. It was that chase, I think. And I think, I was stuck in that kind of loop between, drinking to kind of self-medicate, but also that making it worse and it going round. But I did think, that I wasn't sure how to cope with stress. If you had a stressful day, what to do, that kind of thing. And naturally, I tend to keep things to myself. I'm trying to learn how not to do that. But I found that without having the alcohol, things were just churning inside me a bit more. But now I've found that sport is really helpful, any sort of activity, or going to the gym or getting out on a bike or something like that. I've also really got into writing as well over the last couple of years. I've been kind of journaling, but also writing some articles about working in the hospitality industry and sort of dangers of sort of developing alcoholism and stuff like that. I've tried a bit of painting, doing some art. I play the guitar. I've sort of found lots of different avenues to release stress and find out what works for me. I feel like it's in the last year or two I've had all of my teenage years sort of in 1 year, just trying to learn what I like and what I how to deal with life, I guess.
Love that. Yeah. And it is such a process to figure out what's true for you, and it's so personal. Finding out, like, I ended up picking up hobbies I never thought I would do, like martial arts, or, and it's just like, it's interesting. Yeah. I always actually recommend that people make a bit of a list of things that they remember liking around the age of 10 or 11 and try all those things out again.
Yeah, and there's been some that I've tried and not carried on, but they've been fun to try. Like I even did archery for a little, had a few goes at that, tried some golf, all sorts of things, which was fun to work out.
Yeah, it's a fun journey when there's no pressure about it. And it is fascinating. Like we know, really, I think each of us as humans kind of know, and we certainly know scientifically, the things that actually do relieve stress, like exercise, getting outside, journaling, self-reflection, community, being with other people, meditation. And yet I think we have perceptions of what those things are, but all of those things can really be wrapped in a way that makes it good for us, right? Like we can try, there's dozens of ways to exercise, and we can just keep trying different ones until we find ones that work for us. Or there's dozens of ways to get outside, and like tons of ways to think of, like there's tons of different types of meditation practices, tons of different types of places to find different community. And, it does take a bit of effort, but it's really worth it to sort of find those things that really work for your mental health.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember thinking at one point in time, like life is just so daily, like we have to do all this stuff every single day. And I was like so frustrated by that idea that if I wasn't just medicating with alcohol, which actually made me more stressed over the long term, but in the short term, it felt like relief. If I wasn't just doing that, I was having to do, what? I'm going to have to do all of these things. I'm going to have to incorporate this whole new way of being, but there's actually so much joy in it. Like, we're created to need to do things with each other and outside. And it becomes, when you let go of this idea that like you have to, and you make it much more of a get to, it can be really fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I find that now I'm enjoying so much that I'm finding it hard to cram everything in a bit now as well. But it's good, a good sort of feeling that I just want to do everything now.
That's great. Well, I love this. Well, this has been such a joy. So let me ask you the question that I finish up with, which is, if you were going to go back to Kathryn, and you can pick if it was really Kathryn who was drinking a lot and feeling stuck and having regret about things she was doing, or maybe the Kathryn who was just white knuckling it and 5 years of sobriety, but without any kind of mental or emotional real relief, still feeling missing out. And you would tell her what life is like now. What would you say?
I think I would say to both of them actually that you can find peace, and you will find a feeling of calm, because I never believed that I could feel calm or ever feel truly relaxed. And I think, yeah, just to tell myself that you will get there.
I love that. It's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's been really wonderful to get to know you a bit.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's been good being here.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're ready to see how This Naked Mind can help you on your personal health and wellness journey and want to learn more, go to thisnakedmindpodcast.com to learn what your next best step is. Again, that's thisnakedmindpodcast.com. We have all of our free resources, programs, social links, and more available for you there. Plus, if you have your own naked life story to share, you can submit it there as well. Until next week, stay curious.